I'm just going to have to read this. This is we might need more information, but let's just see how it goes. Our child keeps approaching us with information, firsthand knowledge of incidents, confidence from friends, one-sided accusations, etc., which are pretty serious in nature. We have no way to confirm the second-hand or one-sided stories. Most often, these are relationship-driven or sexually themed. How do we handle this, not just with our kid, but our responsibility to parents of other children supposedly involved? And I know that is vague in the sense of for that situation, but maybe just a play-by-play on wisdom.
Boy, I'd have to get some more information on that. I'll just give you a couple of scenarios.
Yeah.
Number one, I don't believe everything my kid says. That's number one, because my kid is a child, and children get things wrong all the time. And so I've always trusted my kids in the sense that I don't think that they're going to walk up to me and tell me a bold-faced lie about somebody. But we have a school here, and children go home and tell their parents something that the teacher said or the teacher did, and in almost every instance, it's not actually what happened. The child's missing context, or he's trying to keep his parents from getting mad at him because he didn't do his homework or that kind of stuff. And so I have wisdom about that. Jesus said that you're to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, and that not only includes relationships outside my family, but inside my family too. I need to understand that my child's a sinner. Okay, so that's the first thing that I would counsel you with. If you don't know exactly what's going on, you don't know exactly what's going on, and so you have to get some more information. When I have talked to my daughter or my son about issues with their children getting involved in something that is sinful, one of the things that I've counseled them is the same thing that I would counsel anybody who came in and talked to me about some issue that they know about another person. Jesus said that if you have a problem with somebody, this is in Matthew chapter 18. Actually, let me just read it to you. Jesus said, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he hears you, you've gained your brother. But if he will not hear, take with you one or two more, that by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he refuses to hear them, tell it to the church. But if he refuses even to hear the church, let him be to you like a heathen and a tax collector. And this is talking about in a church setting, but again, there's a process there. And so if somebody's done something that's sinful and I know about it, what I am obligated to do is not go tell my parents. I'm obligated to go tell them. I'm supposed to be talking to the kids and saying, hey, this is wrong. What are you doing? And you need your son or your daughter to grow up like that. And so you don't want a child who's going to be a tattletale for the rest of his life, going and talking to HR instead of talking to the person that he's got a problem with. And so that would be the first thing I do. Age appropriate, I would have my kids go and talk to the kid. And this is what I do in situations where I know about somebody's sin, or where somebody's come in and told me about somebody's sin. So if I have an adult come into my office and tell me, hey, Steve, did you know that so-and-so is doing thus and such? And I go, my first question is, did you talk to him about this? And then I get the answer, and the answer is almost always no. And then I say, you need to go talk to them, again, because of what this passage says. And I say, you don't need to talk to anybody else. And you didn't need to talk to me. You need to go talk to them about this, and see if they'll repent about the situation. And then if they don't, then you're free to bring in somebody else. But that's how the process always goes. Anything else is gossip, and anything else, it can literally be slander in a situation like that. There's a passage in Proverbs that says, that talks about the words of a talebearer are like tasty trifles. They go down into the innermost soul. And so it's one of those things where when you're hearing a story about somebody, nobody cares about good news. It's bad news. And when it's bad news about somebody, then it's really interesting. And so that's what propagates gossip and trashing people's lives. The Bible again in Proverbs says when there's no wood, the fire goes out, and when there's no talebearer, strife ceases. And so again, what you want to do is keep your child from being a talebearer and make him somebody who will stand up for the right in the situation. Okay, then I would have my kid do exactly the same thing that I did. And I'd say, okay, you know what, you're doing this thing, and you're telling me that you're doing this thing. You know, you say that you're a Christian, or you say that you're this, or you say that you're that. You know, there's some moral basis for this being wrong, and you need to stop. And if they go, I don't want to stop, I'm not going to do it. I go, okay, well, I'd tell my kid, okay, well, if you're not going to stop, you've told me this stuff, I'm going to let your parents know what you're doing if you don't stop. And you need to go, you need to stop it, and you need to go talk to your parents about it. And if you don't, I will. And that's what I always do. That's what I do with adults. They come into my office, they tell me something about somebody. I go, have you talked to them? They say, no, you need to go talk to them. And if you don't, I'll give you some time to do it. But if you don't, I'm going to tell them that you came into my office and told me a story about them. And that does one of two things. It either stops them, gets them to go and talk to the person and do it biblically, or they never come and talk to me about anything again. And it might do both, where they go and take care of it biblically, and then they never come and tell me another story again. And I'm fine with that. I don't want to hear stories about people. And so that's where I would get my kids to go. And I understand that your kids are not necessarily trying to gossip about other people and that kind of stuff. They just don't know what to do. But that's where I want my kid to go when he becomes an adult. And so if I would have my kid involved in this, depending on the age. And so if they know these things, I'd say, how do you know these things? What's happening? What's going on there? And then if it was something that I thought, if my kid goes through the process and does something about this, and the other kid doesn't respond, then I would feel free to get involved, especially if it's something that's going to hurt that kid. If a kid's involved in drugs and his parents don't know, if a girl's involved in a sexual relationship and her parents don't know, and that kind of thing's going on, at some point, my kid's going to come to the end of the road as far as what he can or can't do. And I'm going to make sure that parent knows what's going on in that kid's life. I'm not going to stand back and watch a junior higher or a teenager get their life wrecked because I kept my mouth shut.
For sure.
So,
right.
But there's a process.